YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Warhammer 2. Gonna be playing you some online battles. I've been tinkering around a lot with the High Elves today. I think I'm only about 50-50, but it's partly also because I'm trying to just figure out better ways to play them. This is an army that I had seen used, that I modified a bit for my own use. But basically, this army is gonna try and balance out the High Elves. A lot of people think that they're infantry weak. They are, if you just look at the low tier, but they're quite good with infantry when you look at the high tier. So sword masters, I've got two of those. I've got two white lions flanking the sword masters, and I've got two spearmen on the flanks. Spearmen aren't good at attacking, but they've got solid armor, high melee defense, and anti-large with bracing. I've got a High Elf Prince on a Star Dragon. And then I've got 3 units of the standard High Elf Archers, which have 180 range. And then I've got a unit of Lothern Sea Guard, which are a campaign favorite of mine, that I'm trying to kind of figure out if they hold a place in the multiplayer. Now, Lothern Sea Guard are not going to do good against, like, big giant monsters, or trying to hold their ground against heavy cavalry. What they can do, though, is hold their ground against lighter cavalry, stuff like Dark Riders or Feral Cold Ones. They'd probably do a little bit better, because they have that spear. And so the aim here is that I have a lot of archer power, a whole lot. I've still got a strong lord. He can be supported by the archer power. Illyrian Reavers mean that I'm a bit squishy in terms of cavalry, but I have something to help protect the flanks and to ride stuff down. So it doesn't leave me super strong there, but it leaves me with an option. My opponent here has these repeater crossbows, which are going to be really good against high armor targets. But since he's massively outranged, I can keep them away from me. And you can see that after just one volley, I wreck most of one of his units. His main line is a bunch of Harganeth executioners. And those guys are going to be some tough as nails infantry. My sword masters will match up pretty decently against them. I'm going to use my cavalry here to disrupt the charge of some of his executioners. And then I'm going to get charges in the middle. And you can see, so far, so good. It's going to be a tough fight, though. My opponent brings up Malekith. And I'm going to attack Malekith and also turn my bowman against him, hopefully causing some really good early damage. You can see over here, my white lions and sword masters, along with the reavers, made short work of a bleak sword unit. I believe it was bleak swords. Yeah, they get absolutely wrecked. The Harganeth executioners are doubled up against me right here, so they're definitely going to do good, but my swordmaster is still managing to pull down 45 of them, which is impressive. At this point, I have not used my mage Lore of Light, which is a mistake. I should have used the nets to disrupt the Harganeth executioner charge, so that was a mistake on my part. And here I'm targeting Malekith to help out my dragon, and I turn my attention over here where it should be, which is keeping these repeater crossbows from being able to tear down my lord. Now at this point, so many of the Dark Elves have died that the Murderous Prowess is kicking in, so they're going to get a buff. And over here I'm just holding off some Cold One Knights with my Reavers. I'm going to have to send more Reavers to hold them off. This Cold One Knight gets a very nice rear charge on my Sword Masters and dishes out some painful damage. Malekith is kind of pushed back for the moment. I still have 1 spear in reserve, and you can see that my archers are getting some serious work done. But at the same time, because of that rear charge, the infantry fight kind of starts to sour against me. And this cavalry fight's going to eventually tilt against me as well. I'm using my bows to keep Malekith damaged, and here you can see he's going to pull in his repeater crossbows. They've come back from routing, and I'm not going to notice right away, and they're going to start doing some intense damage. I finally remember to use my nets to keep the enemy from being able to get to my archers in the center, because they were about to. So I'm going to pull my archers back, and I'm going to start nuking this Hydra. So the Hydra is now a perfectly fixed target, and he's going to take massive damage from my bows. So that quick disruption using the nets was enough to get my opponent off balance. It allowed me to get some spearmen and some white lions back into the fight. These spearmen are now in the fight, and I'm able to get my lord away from his repeater crossbows. I rout the Hydra, and now I can turn my bowman against the repeater crossbows before they're able to finish my lord, because my lord did get savaged pretty badly. But yeah, the repeater crossbows just don't have the range to stay in this fight. He's going to bring his lord in, and he's going to use this Soul Stealer, which is actually really bad for me because it starts to heal Malekith, so I'm going to go and attack Malekith. But at the same time, my lord takes a nasty shot from something right there, and he's almost dead. So I'm going to have to turn my bowman against Malekith, and my lord gets caught here. Even though he was kind of away, that charge there from Malekith landed. So my lord's going to rout, but Malekith is under heavy bow fire, and he's in trouble. The infantry fight carries on. What's left of my swordmasters, white lions, and spearmen continue to fight on. You can see these Hargoneth executioners over here executing my spearmen, certainly. And the Hydra has come back, but before the Dark Elves start saying Hail Hydra, I've shot their lord out of the fight, and I'm going to be able to turn my bows around until that Hydra gets in. I've got some regrouped sword masters that are here as well. And even though the Hydra is pretty nasty, I'm going to be able to use my bowmen to get rid of it. Some Cold One Riders coming in here as well. I was waiting on the nets to recharge at this point, but it'll be okay. My White Lion's regrouped. He does have a few executioners who are going to get into my Sea Guard. The Sea Guard will actually hold their own momentarily against this few executioners while my regrouped infantry comes in to help. And you can see the Hydra is going to be forced out of combat over here, and the Cold One Knights are going crazy. The enemy lord is not able to get back into the fight because the ranged unit's keeping him away. So the archers carry the day for me here. I think that both I and my opponent made some mistakes here. It was interesting that he came with... This is not the first High Elf army I've come up against today that comes heavy with Hargoneth executioners. I'm used to seeing a little bit lighter line, especially coming up against the High Elves. And it's interesting, though, that he chose what he did. I like this army a lot. I think if you use the nets properly, I did have banishment on this mage as well, just in case, you know, you had an opportunity to try and cause a blob with the dragon, where you could drop a banishment and, you know, tear up a blob. You have to really watch out for the what you call it, the vortex spells. If they get dropped in the right spot, they can cause massive damage in this game. Massive damage. So just to talk a little bit about some of the units that were in the battle, why they were used, why they were helpful to me. So this army here, like I said, I believe I saw Ninja Hun use this, and then I modified it some. So this is kind of my version of what he did. It's very, very similar, but a couple of small modifications. In any case, this Mage of Light, the banishment spell, like I said, I think gives me the flexibility in case I run into an infantry blob or a blob of cavalry. You could drop it on there. The net, of course, is obvious why you choose the net. It can pin stuff down to let your archers do the work. But Swordmasters of Hoeth, what are they good for? Well, they have a bonus versus infantry, and it's quite a lot. And they also have armor piercing damage and a pretty decent charge bonus. So you could use the net, for instance, to stop charging enemies, and that would in turn help you here. Really good melee defense, honestly, though, for a two-handed weapon unit. It's not bad at all. You can see the melee defense on these White Lions is low. That's really the only redeeming quality of these spearmen. Part of it's their shield, but, I mean, that's pretty good melee defense all around. Some people have been saying in comments that High Elves are just crappy. I don't agree with that. I think High Elves are actually pretty good, and I've seen people use them pretty well online. I'm still learning how to use them better. They have a lot of tools at their disposal, and they have really good dragons, and a lot of them. So that's something else that you have to be aware of. So I'm curious to see what you all think of the High Elves. I don't think they're underpowered at all. I think that their units serve a purpose, and I think you just have to know how to use them. In fact, I would say that overall, I really think the game is balanced pretty well right now. I'm not really seeing one faction that just seems to absolutely take a crap on everybody else. So I don't know. I'm not really of the opinion that the High Elves are underwhelming. I think they're pretty good if you know how to use them, and it probably just takes a little bit different feel to get used to them. They don't play like the Lizardmen do and the Skaven, or you know, but that's why the factions are different. But anyway, I'm curious to see what you think. Hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you on another online battle soon.